It was in 1997 that a friend brought home the first surf magazine that I ever saw. And for both of us, it was clear next year after school, we wanted to go on our first surf trip. And from that on, our goal was set. We only needed a car and surfboards. So we got us an old Volkswagen Transporter, and the only thing was there were no surfboards to buy because back then, in 1997, there were no surf shops in Eastern Germany, and so I had to build my own surfboards. This was when everything started. So I built us 3 surfboards that we took on our first surf trip in 1997 to France, Spain, and Portugal. And it was amazing seeing these waves and gliding over the ocean on a surfboard for the first time was really touching, and we directly fell in love with the ocean. Coming back from that surf trip, it was clear for me that I wanted to make and learn something about the ocean. The possibility for me was to study oceanography, so climate physics, which indeed I did. So I went to Kiel in 1999 to study oceanography. It was also then that I went on a few research cruises to the mid-Atlantic, which was really mind-blowing to really do physical oceanography, to measure the ocean where it happens. So to put in moorings into 4,000 meter depth, where you have sensors that measure temperature, salinity, and density to get a real understanding of what is happening underneath the surface. One thing that really blew my mind was being out on the ocean on a research ship, and you look into the water and you see these deep blue waters. It's a feeling I will never forget. It connects with you, and it shifts your perspective, because at that time you really understand what it means. The blue marble called planet Earth, because 70% of our Earth is ocean, and if you watch our Earth from space, it appears blue because most of it is ocean. And to be on that ocean and to feel this intense blue right there was really touching, and it changed a lot for me. Another thing that touched me deeply was the waste. Even back then in 1996, being on any beach in Europe, you could walk along and you would find at least a piece of garbage. Most likely it was plastic. And this situation until now, we have 2025, has changed incredibly. Now you go on any beach in the world, and it is very unlikely that you do not find any piece of garbage, especially plastic, in a circumference of 2 meters around you, which is really heart-shocking. And this is something that scared me so much that I wanted to know more about it, and that I wanted to do more about it. We produce things that we throw away. Unfortunately, we invented plastic, which never decay. They break into smaller and smaller pieces, but they stay there forever. And as a surfer and me as a shaper, it was a huge problem, and I always struggled to build things for the ocean that are made from plastic. Looking back in history, people approached surfing on a very interesting way. They used wood to build their surfboards. It was Duka Namoku who wrote such surfboards and brought surfing to the world. A friend of him, Tom Blake, then, has been the first to build a hollow wooden surfboard, which was much lighter, much more agile than the full wooden boards. And so I became interested in how surfboards could be built better and in a different way. Being a climate scientist, for many years I stopped shaping surfboards. And after more than 20 years as a climate scientist, I finally made a dream come true and built myself a wooden surfboard. When you stay there and look around, you have shaped a beautiful surfboard, and the only thing you produced was wooden flakes. There was no other waste you did. This experience changed everything for me. I suddenly realized why I stopped shaping surfboards years and years ago. Back then, I only produced waste. The surfboard itself was plastic waste. Everything I did building this surfboard produced plastic waste. And now I build a wooden surfboard, and the only thing I produced was wooden flakes. That was really a change. I was wondering, why not going all in and build really sustainable wooden surfboards? Purely wooden surfboards without any glassing, with wooden fins and wooden fin boxes. On my approach to build wooden surfboards, I try to go all the way that I can, avoiding any composite materials, avoiding any plastic fin boxes or any plastic fins, and being as sustainable in the surfboard as possible. The first step of shaping a surfboard is finding the right form of it. I use a CAD program to shape the board on a computer and define where the ribs are. Knowing how the board will look like, I can take the paulownia wood. Paulownia is a very fast-growing tree which captures a lot of CO2. That is why it's called the CO2 tree as well. This wood is very lightweight, and if you oil it, it will be seawater proof. So this paulownia wood I saw in a way that I can mirror the planes afterward for the deck and bottom planes. After gluing them together into deck and bottom planes, I can go to the CNC machine and mill out the individual ribs. At this point, the rails have to be built. After the rails and the ribs are assembled together, everything comes to the rocker table. So the deck and bottom plates and the ribs and the whole skeleton will be glued together. Having that done, you finally have a blank surfboard. Until that, already many hours went into building this surfboard. What now is needed are the fins. So it goes back to the CNC machine to produce the fins. And not only the fins, but also the fin boxes. And finally, I can start shaping the surfboard. Here I only use hand planes and sanding paper by hand for shaping the rails and finding the final form of the surfboard. Taking hand plane and shaping the board finally brings you back to a really zen moment when you, stroke by stroke, find the form of the surfboard. You're just there, it's just you, your hands and the surfboard and the form you want to find. There you are very much by yourself and by yourself only, and you're really deeply in peace. Every bit of waste that we leave somewhere finally can end up in the ocean. And if it's plastic waste, which is not biodegradable, this plastic will stay in the ocean forever. Thinking about that and knowing that every piece of plastic can end up in the ocean definitely will change your mind about how you treat something that you have in your hand. Just throw it away or just take it to the next waste bin. The interesting thing is that if nobody starts with something, nothing will change. Change can only happen if one individual starts doing things differently.